So what if you're just a lonely bartender working at a not so well-known bar on the outskirts of a town, but one day a random fox girl shows up begging to work for you, and seeing how adamant she is about it, you say sure, and all of a sudden your once desolate bar becomes packed with people, all because this girl is good with customers and has way too much energy. Too much energy to be expended on pranks that she pulls on you, which ultimately leads to one of the few reasons your bar is popular. Well, that's the story of the sauce I have for you today, and this one doesn't have any numbers attached to it. Let's talk Con Caprice. This dozen is from the artist Mr. E, and no, not the Scooby-Doo character. And according to the Sauce Bible, it's got tags like childhood friends, hand-holding, and of course Fox Girl. So let's get right into it. The sauce starts out with an outside shot of a bar and people laughing. Cutting inside, we see people drinking and asking the main guy, Leo, for more booze. Leo then asks someone to take care of it, which is when two animal-like ears twitch and a cheery Fox Girl says right away. She goes around serving drinks and taking orders. There's then some inner dialogue from Leo, where he's talking about her. Her name is Ino, and it's not a fox cosplay. She claims to be from a far island, which he had no idea people like her existed. But since she started working there, the bar became more popular, which is a good thing, and he's never had to deal with that many clients. The place used to be a rat's nest until she arrived, and she has so much energy that at times, it's hard for him to keep up with her pace. Some days, he just wants to forget everything and rest, but there's a problem with that as well. As some customers point out, he gets a new tattoo when that happens, because she uses so much of her energy pulling pranks on him. It wasn't bad at first, but as time passed, it got a bit heavier handed, to the point where she would fill up a mop bucket with some paint and make the floor look straight out of a CSI episode, and then clients started to join her. It became so prevalent that most of the clients that turn up just wanted to see a fox girl pull pranks on the owner of the bar. It's not what he expected when he opened the bar, but at least he's getting that bank. He's understandably upset, but sees her and just says to continue working. But now there's some guys who are ogling her and her tail. And later that night, as the bar is slowly losing its crowd, three guys are still there talking about the crimes they've committed, but they call her over, saying that they made a bet and wanted to ask something. This something being if the tail is a plug and trying to sneak a peek to settle the issue. She brushes it off, telling them to go home since they're drunk, but one of them grabs her tail. Leo sees this and sees that they're getting pretty handsy with her, to the point where they're picking her up and taking her to the bathroom. But before they could get far from the table, they get a big ol' sock to the face, sending him flying back to the table. Leo tells them thanks for their patronage and to pay up and leave. The three guys then try to pick a fight, and for that cartoon effect, it cuts to the outside of the bar with a bunch of onomatopoeias before cutting back to two guys beaten up. Leo threatens them, telling them that's what they get for bothering Ino and for them to get out and never come back. But the third guy takes a wine bottle and smashes it over Leo's head, and instead of reacting like anyone would in pain, Leo turns his eyes back with the wine running over his head, scolding the guy about how expensive that wine was. Then comes Ino with a tray and whacks him on the head. It cuts to later when the police are there to take them away, and about how much trouble they cause in other bars and starting fights. The police officer then asks if Leo should go to the doctor, and he says he's fine and he'll get back to work. Ino whacks his head now, telling him to not be a tough guy and to swallow his pride, but Ino whacked him a bit too hard and he face planted, and he goes to take a nap. It's flashback time now, with Leo asking why it feels familiar. It then shows a marker and a paw leaving some marks on this person's back. Leo's thinking about the fox he adopted as a kid, and how they used to cause so much trouble back then. And sometimes they would cross the line, like the day the fox got into trouble with some guys at a factory, and Leo took the beating for her, and then thinks about how she just vanished one night. But that's pretty much all for the flashback, because he wakes up now with Ino by his side. He asks why she's there, which she reminds him of the fight and the guys. Leo remembers, saying that her pranks are getting a bit overboard, which she then asks if he thinks she'll get herself harassed just to play a joke, and I don't really blame him for being skeptical, but it wasn't the case. Again, you can't really blame him for being paranoid over all the pranks, and she admits that she can go a bit overboard at times, and even says that if he wants them to stop, but before she can finish that thought, he grabs her cheeks and gets all close, like really close, and then just screams that he's dying in her face, and then laughs at her face. She goes to run off, but he grabs her arm and puts her on the bed, saying it's just a prank, and they kiss, with him thinking that this is probably why he bears with her pranks. What else do you expect when they work and live in the same place? They start doing it, but there's some more backstory. He wasn't looking for employees when she arrived, but she was so insistent that he ended up hiring her, and someone like her could have gotten a job anywhere, but she chose there. He was terrible with dealing with girls, and one day he asked something stupid out of nerves, this being if her tail is glued to the dress or a plug, and instead of being the crap out of him, she just goes all coy saying wanna find out, and that's one hell of a way to break the ice, which is around the same time the prank started. That doesn't really matter though, because it cuts back to them doing it. They finish up and he asks asks why she wanted to work there, since it's not a fancy restaurant or a cafe in the city. She smiles and says that being around him could be a lot of fun, and the doujin ends with a shot of the two fishing while they were still young. Overall, I rate this a 10 out of 10. The art style is amazing, even with it being in full color. The characters were fun and interesting as well. The story and how both the plots of the past and present intertwined was really good as well. I recommend you check it out for yourselves as always. That's all I got. I'll see you in the next one.
Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul. These hentai babes make me drool. Hasane Biku is great. She makes me masturbate. Fairy tale.